Right, so it seems Apple's seriously concerned about iPhone 14 Plus sales, or the lack thereof, and so as a result we could see big changes with the iPhone 15 lineup, so let's delve into it. So yes, we've been hearing tons of reports regarding the 14 Plus being a massive failure for Apple, with sales being worse than the Mini, which of course was also regarded as a sales flop. So yeah, that was not so great news, and in fact I was kinda surprised because before the release of the 14 Plus, I was expecting this to be the bestseller because A, people like big phones, a lot of people use their phones as their main devices, so having the biggest screen possible at a low price, I thought that would sell like hotcakes. However, after the release of the 14 Plus, Apple made some crucial mistakes, particularly with the lack of new features, and also a high price that was similar to the Pros, that put off consumers. But anyways, because of the lack of sales, Apple's considering re-strategizing for the 15 series, and they could give us two big changes. So yeah, this Korean source says the first big change could be differentiating the regular models and the Pro models even further. So Min Chi Kuo told us about this, but essentially because everyone's buying the 14 Pros this year, Apple could of course continue giving the Pros more new features that the regular models do not get. So for example, this year we saw the lack of a new chip with the regular models. It was using the same old A15 chip. Also, we saw no dynamic island on the regular models, also none of the new big camera features, and also no new always-on display. And while with the 15 Pro series, expect titanium to be exclusive, also periscope zoom, haptic buttons, obviously the new chip, which is going to be a big upgrade this year because we're finally getting 3nm, and maybe other camera features. Now, in my opinion, I think that actually won't be such a great move because yes, I know that Apple ultimately wants consumers to buy the Pro models, and so making the regular model look worse to upsell consumers to the Pro does make sense for Apple, but of course, I do think the regular models do need some new features to set it apart from last year's models, and so basically they should do what they were doing before the 14 series. Give the regular models the same chip, and give them similar camera features. I mean heck, at one point the 10R and the 11 had the same main lens as their Pro counterparts, and so Apple should do the same with the 15 series because apart from the main lens, the Pros will still have the periscope zoom lens, the better ultra-wides, and also things like ProRes and ProRAW, so giving the regular models the 48 megapixel main sensor is not going to completely stop consumers buying the Pros because there's still going to be incentives to get the Pros instead. Now the second change the Korean source tells us about is of course a price cut. So yeah, once again, that was a big issue with the 14 Plus. It was $899 with carriers, $929 unlocked, and that was just way too similar in price to the Pros. Why would you get the 14 Plus when you could just get the 14 Pro instead for $1,000 that gave you so many more features? And so yeah, this source does suggest that maybe the prices could see a $100 price cut, so $799 for the 14 Plus and $699 for the regular 14. Now that would be a lot better in my opinion because it would bring the regular 6.1 inch size back to that $699 sweet spot that the iPhone 11 used to sell at, and that was a very popular device. Heck, even $599 would be nice for the regular 6.1 inch size to rival the Pixel 7. So yeah, price cut could make a massive difference. But there's one big change I think Apple should do that was not mentioned in this report, and that's reduce the number of iPhones they produce. I think the big issue with the 14 Plus and Apple's iPhone lineup as a whole is the fact it's pretty convoluted. We used to have a pretty simple iPhone lineup, but now there's too many models. There's even some models at the same price, like the iPhone 13 mini and the iPhone 12. That never made sense to me, so yes, Apple should just go back to one regular iPhone size alongside two Pro models. Because honestly, I thought the 14 Plus would be very popular, but that was not the case, and the Mini wasn't very popular, so giving us an additional regular size clearly has not been selling well for Apple, so going back to the tried and tested 11 and 10R strategy where there was one regular 6.1 inch size would be ideal. Since honestly, for those buying the regular models, aka average consumers, they're going to be confused by the plethora of options that Apple sells, and so presenting them with one regular size that has the newest chip, some of the new camera features, and a price point of $700 or $600, I think that would be perfect. And shout out to May on Twitter because they presented their restructure of the iPhone lineup, and this honestly makes so much sense. Having clear price gaps between all models and just reducing the number of iPhones Apple sells really should be the big change Apple does with the 15 series. So yes, take us back to the 10R and 11 days because those were amazing regular iPhones. They have the best balance of new features and compromises. And by the way, I do want to mention another point. I remember seeing a comment regarding how the regular iPhone should be 6.4 inches. I initially dismissed this, but now actually if Apple goes back to 3 models in the lineup, that would make a ton of sense, since you might remember the 10R and the 11 was in between the 5.8 inch and 6.5 inch Pro and Pro Max, and so redoing that for the 15 series might make sense. But now let's delve into your questions. So at Aquino X Paradise says, I think the portless iPhone will come till there is an airdropping feature but without compression. And yes, I would agree with that statement. I think Apple's ultimate goal is to give us a completely portless device, but right now the tech is not ready yet. And so the second Apple can transfer content via MagSafe, or maybe even AirDrop, I can see them going portless. So Zeus regarding my comment on battery tech not really seeing major advancements over the last few years says, you think they would be hounding solid state battery engineers or working on their own, hours on a single charge, how about days, future Tim Cook. And yeah, I'm really surprised that Apple and of course other smartphone manufacturers have really not made huge advancements when it comes to batteries. We are still basically using the same tech we've been using for years, and it's a shame because I would love to see smaller batteries that take up less volume in the device, but give you more hours and possibly days of heavy usage. However, I do have a theory that maybe companies are using this older tech on purpose, because let's be honest guys, the main reason people are upgrading nowadays is because the older phones have batteries that are battered and they don't want to pay for the replacement, so of course they just upgrade via their contract to a new iPhone. And so maybe Apple's doing this on purpose to encourage more upgrades because for most consumers, the camera and the performance of an iPhone 11 is still very good. It's most likely the battery that's failing them, so yeah, that's my theory on this. Maybe batteries have not improved on purpose. But guys, tell me your thoughts regarding this in the comments. Anyways, thank you for watching guys. Make sure to like and subscribe for the latest Apple news and rumours. Check out the video above on details regarding Apple's new VR headset. And on that note, see ya peeps.